every time we have actually said no, there are serious stakes in question. That those who have acquired dominance, especially economic dominance, will, through a process of negotiation, through shaping of narratives, create systems which would often appear fair even if they are not. I hear this naysayers narrative coming back. Why isn't India quickly signing up with UK? Nobody says, why isn't UK quickly signing up with India? Now, Mohan spoke at some length, in a way, about the power of the narrative, about what the Americans said at Geneva, what others said at Doha. And he has, in his book, actually brought out why we are not the naysayers that sometimes we have acquired a reputation for being. And again, I think this is something which we need to reflect on, because sometimes the power of narrative is so strong. Even though we are the victims of that narrative, we buy that narrative. We are often convinced ourselves that we are naysayers and very casually advocate at times, saying, the entire world is out there, why are we holding out? It makes us look bad. When every time we have actually said no, there are serious stakes in question. And that is something which he has brought out very, very well. So, the power of the narrative is also important to realize, because he uses the Uruguay round to demonstrate how inequities were normalized. That how the world was made to believe, there's free trade everywhere. Oh, by the way, it doesn't apply to food, and it doesn't apply to clothing. It doesn't apply to drugs. It doesn't apply to intellectual property rights. So this cherry picking about what should be a level playing field, what should not, what should be open and what should not. At the end of the day, it is all about freezing leads which countries have acquired. And we see this most starkly in the UN Security Council, that those who have acquired dominance, especially economic dominance, will, through a process of negotiation, through shaping of narratives, create systems which would often appear fair even if they are not. And I think that is something which comes through very powerful in his book. Again, a lot of our economic discussions seem to suggest that openness is good for the sake of openness. Now, if you look at the state of the world and you look at the state of economies, including our own, I think the data would point to the contrary. That in fact today, in the name of globalization, there are enormous concentrations that have been created. Those concentrations are leveraged in different ways. And what actually COVID has done great damage health-wise and social fabric-wise and economically. But COVID has reopened the debate about strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy not in a nuclear sense, but strategic autonomy in an economic sense, in a cultural sense, in a supply chain sense, in a technology sense. That today we need to ask ourselves, actually, are we wise opening for the sake of opening? And I think that is very much a caution that the government has in its mind as we debate a lot of the free trade agreements and other regimes and other negotiations that we are looking at. Now, a word about free trade agreements, because again, it's dealt with not exhaustively, but illustratively in the book. We are right now in the middle of some fairly serious negotiations with some fairly serious partners. But again, when one reads about it, that it's going to happen, it's the last leg, it should happen by Diwali, why are we holding back? I hear this naysayers narrative coming back. Why isn't India quickly signing up with UK? Nobody says, why isn't UK quickly signing up with India? So somewhere it is like we have to make that accommodation. We are the people who somewhere are holding back, and we should, speed it up, because every FTA and every open step is an achievement in itself. Now, FTAs have a use. I'm not at all in denial, I think. But FTAs, at the end of the day, for a country with the per capita income that we have, for a country with the small producers that we do, I would very, very judiciously consider the merits and the risks of an FTA. Because at the end of the day, we are exposing, every decision of an FTA is exposing millions of people. Their livelihoods are on the line. And I think we need, when we look at FTAs, it's not a theoretical exercise which should be done for smart and timely diplomacy because we have a visit coming. I think it is something where really the future of our society, the lives of people, the livelihoods of people hang in balance. And we need to take that very much into account.